Greetings, OCO, peace, beautiful beings. I would like to wish you light, life, and love. Welcome to Creative Conscious 2 Corner, the love series. Today we're going to be talking about love unconditionally, your journey to a better mental health. This is episode 1 of our series. This love series is going to be a very important series. In this series, we want to sprinkle your life with a generous dose of tips on love and kicking anxiety and depression to the curb. I'm your host, Gina. I'm your guide on this journey to discovering the magic of unconditional love and bidding farewell to those pesky, unwanted guests called anxiety. Are you stuck in traffic? We'll be thrilled to have you here. So grab your notepad and pencil if you must, and get ready to embark on a journey that's equal parts insightful, empowering, and yes, liberally sprinkled with a touch of humor. So, what is the buzz all about? You got to ask yourself. In this series, we'll dive into the profound world of unconditional love and self love, and we'll explore how love can be your superhero cape in the battle against anxiety and or depression. We've got segments that will unpack the essence of love, share heartwarming stories, throw in some science-based insight, and of course, practical tips you can apply to your daily life. So, what is unconditional love? Okay, let's break the first word unconditional down. Un meaning deprivation or removal. Conditional, depending on a condition or circumstance. So that means that unconditional would mean not conditional or no conditions. Let's go on to love. What is love? Let's look at the etymology of the word love. Etymology is what we would call the original meaning of the word. So, the etymology of the word love is, in a general sense, to be pleased with, to regard. So, on the 1828 Webster Dictionary, this is a little different definition. It is an emotion and it operates in the higher realm. What does that mean, Gina? The frequency of love operates on a higher level. What could that possibly mean? We'll get into that later. For those of you who follow the good book, which is called the Bible, let's look at who is love. 1 John 4:8 states that he that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. Okay? 1 John 4:9 says, if you do not love, then don't know God, because God is love. So, what does the good book say about love? 1 Corinthians 13 says, because we want to know what is love, because you need some rules to judge whether or not you are walking in what love. And this is what is called agape love. So, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. This is a new international version. So think about these things. Do you Demonstrate these things or do you not? This can gauge you as to whether or not you're walking in love. Why should you love? Very important. If I give everything I own to the poor and even go to the stakes to be burned as a martyr, but I don't love, I've gotten nowhere. So, no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I'm bankrupt without love. So, now is the time to ask yourself, do you love? Do you walk in love? And it's very important that you ask yourself, do you love yourself? A lot of people today are looking for love outside of themselves and they are not looking within themselves for that love that they need. Because if you don't love yourself first, how can you depend on someone else's love outside of self? Because what's on the inside reflects back to you from the outside. Let's go on. How do you love? First of all, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. It's not envious. Love doesn't strut. Love doesn't have a swelled head. And it doesn't force itself on others. Isn't always me first. Love doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others. It doesn't revel when others grovel. It takes pleasure in the flowering of truth. Picks up with anything and it trusts God always. Why? Because God is what? Love. What are emotions? Emotions are fundamental truth. Everything is energy. Everything in life is energy and it's in perpetual motion. Emotions, as manifestations of energy and motion, intrinsically shapes our reality. So emotions are very important when it comes to creating our reality, our personality. Is very important. And we need to understand that. All right. So we need you to ask yourself these certain questions because it's very important because what you experience in life is, like I stated before, a reflection of what is within you. So you got to ask yourself, do you have patience with yourself and do you have patience with others? Are you kind when it comes to you? And are you slow to anger when it comes to others? Do you look in the best when it comes to yourself and others? Okay. Or do you take those negative views from others and internalize them and think negatively about yourself? Or do you force your views, your ways onto other people? So if you're forcing your opinion, your desires, or what you think onto others, then you're not operating in love. Do you use words? Are your words positive or kind? All right. Do you brag about what you have? Do you make other people feel small with your words? So these are some of the things you have to ask yourself when it comes to determining whether or not you love yourself. If you're not patient with others, then look inside yourself, okay? How can I be patient with myself? Well, it's time for us to learn how to look within and not look without to determine who we are. So let's look at self love. Now, when I say love yourself, that's not being selfish. Okay, so what I need you to understand, like I said before, if you love yourself first, that's going to be a reflection of what you see around you. So let's look at loving yourself first isn't the same as consistently putting yourself at the front of the line. Love is this beautiful emotion. It is steered by the subconscious. Love yourself first and let that love spill over to others. So, say for instance, if you have a cup and you love yourself so much, you practice loving yourself so much, you're patient with yourself, you're kind to yourself, then that love cup becomes filled. And then once it's filled, it spills over, and then you will find yourself being able to love other people. Because if your love cup is empty, then you are depending on someone outside of you to fill that cup. But see, other people have their own things they have to deal with, and they cannot fill your cup because sometimes they don't love themselves. So when you love yourself first, you are working from the inside out. You are able to fill other people's cup. All right. Let's look at the lower self, because when it comes to our emotions, we need to look at how we feel about certain things. And a lot of us today in society, we are in our lower self, because when you operate at a lower vibration and frequency, because remember we talked about earlier, everything is energy and in motion, okay? Vibration what? Moves. Frequency what? Moves. So you are on the negative side of life and weak minded when you operate on your lower vibration. Now, what are the levels of this lower vibration? What are the emotions and the processes? And then we're going to talk about some of God's views and life's views. Okay, let's look at shame. When you operate in shame, okay, because sometimes, especially when we're children, when that subconscious mind is wide open and our parents are dealing with certain things and they come home or they start shaming a child at a young age, that child grows up to do what? Feel a type of shame about themselves. So that shame goes in, and the emotion is humiliation. And when you shame a person, they feel humiliated. That leads to elimination. And that child becomes what? Miserable. And they may begin to be despising of others. Understand that. Okay. Guilt. If you find yourself blaming others, 'cause a lot of times in society, we always blaming someone else for what we are not doing when we should be doing it. That leads to destruction, vindictiveness, and can be seen as evil. So then we see all of these different lower level vibration. When you are dealing with anxiety, you are living in fear. And that can lead to you withdrawing from others, withdrawing from yourself, not really going in. I met this young lady who didn't like to travel in her car. She would get other people to travel because she was in several accidents. I think it was back to back. And she had a fear of traveling in cars. So that fear developed into what? An anxiety. So she withdrew from getting in cars. She had to get people to go places for her to get whatever she wanted. So let's look at one more. Anger. When you find yourself angry all the time, because a lot of people in the world today are angry. You can say, hi, how you doing? Ugh, why you saying hi to me? Why you speaking to me? Okay. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Because I remember when I was young, I used to always say, hi, how you doing? Da, 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 da. Nowadays, you say hi, people get an attitude like, why you speaking to me? But a lot of people are in anger. Okay. So when you're in anger, you're hating something. You're hating yourself. You're hating something within you is filled with what? Hate. Because hate and love are opposite. If you are angry, you can operate in love. So then we have aggression. A lot of people today are operating aggression. Vengeful. People do things out of revenge. They are antagonistic. So these are the levels, okay, that you have. And pride, now on pride, we're starting to get on to the other side, which is your higher side. Okay, when you're operating your higher side, you operate at a higher vibrational frequency. You are on the positive side of life and you have creativity, energy, and power. Now, right here is courage and affirmation and empowerment. See, you start to operate with courage and you have courage and you start creating affirmations or what you can do to get to a higher level. Because once you start doing affirmations, you become empowered. You have, especially when you have positive affirmations and you become empowered, you begin to trust because those affirmations make you stronger. Then you become optimistic about life. Everything is not always bad. All right. Then you operate in forgiveness because if someone does something to you, right, you are able to forgive them. Now, once you begin to forgive people, then you begin to understand people, understand yourself. And then, we have reverence because now when you into this part, you're operating in what? Love, reverence, revelations. Things start coming to you. You're loving. All right. Notice how as you climb on God's view and life views, inspiring, hopeful, okay, merciful, wise, okay, things become meaningful. So we want to at least operate in the love realm because now we are getting into creating our reality. That's another story. Now, once you operate in love, you're feeling joy, happy, 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 happy. Then you have serenity. You become one, complete. Then we operate in peace. We're bliss. We're illuminating. Illumination is coming here. All being imperfect. And then we rise to what? Enlightenment. A pure consciousness. I mean, this right here means words can't explain. Self is. You are operating in self, your true self, who you really are. Because when you operating in your lower self, then things outside of you begins to control you and you become a slave to things outside of you. You need to have self-love. Self-love is the secret sauce because anxiety operates on a lower frequency and vibration. Love is a positive vibration and it operates higher than anxiety. Remember, here is anxiety, okay? Lower level. Here is love, higher self. Due to the fact that love overcomes anxiety, anxiety can be caused by, what do we say? Shame, okay? Anxiety can be caused by what? Shame, guilt, grief, fear, okay, and anger. All of these operate in the lower vibration, whereas love is in the higher vibration, as we discussed before. Okay, and love leads to all the things that we stated before. When you love yourself, then your joy doesn't depend on anyone outside of you. It is hard for others to take you off your peace when you operate in love. This is why you are slow to anger and you have patience. When you depend on others outside of you, hey, you are limiting yourself because you are making them above you. And your joy depends on outside self. So, what you can do is set boundaries. You can do this on a daily basis to keep the lower emotions at bay. Think of these as your personal rule book, your own laws for living your best life, right? They're like lines that you draw in the sand to make sure your vibes stay in the realm of love, joy, and peace. First things first, though, you got to get real with yourself. What makes you tick? What sends you into a spiral of anger, it makes you feel like you're stuck in the anxiety loop. Okay, so that's finding out what triggers the lower vibration. Once you find that, you need to set boundaries to overcome those triggers. What will be your response if a boundary is crossed? So, if you know that one of your triggers is anger, first you got to figure out what causes that anger. And then you have to say to yourself, once I encounter anger or I feel this anger coming, what do I need to do to stop it? Okay. Now you do this before you get angry, not in the middle of when you feel it coming, but you think about it before you get angry. When you feel that feeling come, what do you want to say to yourself to keep it at bay? When you feel anxiety, what do you want to say to keep that anxiety away? Feelings of depression, what's going to be your key word? Bring you back. That's when affirmations can be used. So, how will you respond when you encounter the triggers? Rehearse the feeling of love. Think about love, what it is. Well, we talked about what it is. Create those feelings of love. Like I stated before, create affirmations that create the feelings of love within you. Visualize something that invokes love from within. These are things that you can do daily to help you. So, here are some nuggets of wisdom. Distractions are your buddy when it comes to keeping anxiety and depression at arm's length. So, find your go to activities that whisk away those blues. Your joy is non negotiable, my friend. So, love over fear. Ask yourself who or what is really running the show. So, rising above all fear and anxiety in our lives, how do we pull that out? Well, we're going to operate in what? Love. Love is your magical wand that helps you soar higher in your awareness. To have a life dripping with love, you've got to kick fear to the curb. Fear and love. They're like incompatible roommates. They don't really go together, okay? And they can't share the same space. So, how do we give up fear and give it the boot? We swap out those survival modes, vibes, and practice something radical, opening up our hearts. Now, I get it. It's not always a walk in the park to operate in love. Sometimes we find ourselves knee deep in fear, guilt, and shame. So let's play detective with our thoughts. What's buzzing in that mind of yours throughout the day? If it's not all sunshines and rainbows, it might be time for a swap. Ask yourself, what's really running the show in my mind and in my life? Is it fear or is it love? If love seems like a tough gig, no worries. Start small. Place those fear driven thoughts with ones that make your heart do a happy dance. It's like a love revolution in your mind. Remember, love conquers fear every single time. So let's rock this journey of trading fear for love, trading anxiety for love, trading depression for love, and turn our lives into a love filled masterpiece. Now, here's the exciting part, you're invited to join the love revolution. Head over to creativeconscious2.com for the full blog, additional resources. Buckle up, love beings. It's time to explore the transformative magic of unconditional love for yourself. Gratitude for watching, listening. Peace be unto you. Be in tune. Be great. Wado.